Fantasy flowers. What are fantasy flowers? Well, quite simply, flowers that you may not find in nature. They are creative, in my case, whimsical, very textural, using lots of different techniques like wet on wet, wet on dry, transparencies, patterns on top, dots, a lot of use of the bleed proof white, which sits very nicely on top of a watercolor. And how do you inspire yourself to create a fantasy floral? Well, I like to surround myself with things I've done that I like. I enjoyed painting. A lot of people make Pinterest boards where they collect reference from other artists that they like. And it's quite all right to use inspiration, draw inspiration from other artwork, because the beauty of fantasy flowers, we're not going to trace something and paint it precisely. We are going to just eye it and let the watercolor do its magic. So each piece will be uniquely you. In this case, I started with a color palette I don't use often, and I really like what I came up with. What I did is I just swatched out some different shades and different weights of the color to add interest to the design, and I opened up a couple of different blocks of paper because I have trouble with patience, and there's a lot of technique here that you have to wait for things to dry, and since patience isn't my virtue and it's very humid on Cape Cod, that's how I do it. It's just way too hot for hair dryers also. So I just free myself. I don't think of a layout. I just put paint on the paper, and you can see there's one I didn't like that I cut away and played. Now, since I have two pads started, I can bounce around because, as you can see, this is some transparency here. So you have to paint a few of the petals and then step away and let them dry. That's kind of what this whole collection is an experiment with. It's an experiment with transparency. So then you step away and you work on what's next. Now, this color is not in my palette. I was experimenting with techniques, so I eliminated these, but I really liked some of the messy watercolor effects I was getting here and in here. Now, obviously, this is more wet on wet. So I wanted to make sure that I used my gray. It's not in my normal comfort zone to use neutrals. I was one of those kids that likes every crayon in the crayon box, so it was a lot of fun to play around. Now, these are all bleeds, wet bleeds, and I didn't use all of these, but I have the fortune where I can scan and manipulate things in my computer. So I took what I did and I created a surface pattern that would be a really nice gift wrap. I created a border design, and I created a wreath. Now, you don't have to even touch your computer if you don't want to. To me, it makes things a lot easier. I don't have to repaint everything, but you can either collage, in which case you would want to use a spray fixative to your watercolor. You can make your own collage, or once I've created these items, I decided I wanted to create a composition. And in this case, I sketched out, I want to have my flowers in a vase. And what I will do is I'll be eyeballing these flowers as my reference, because I want this piece to hang with the rest of the collection, because I wanted to create something that's frameable. I may add like some flowers on the ground or surrounding it, like they've fallen out, some leaves, but I just wanted to sketch the idea. And I don't trace it. I put it off to the side, and then I get started. So you can see that I very, very, very lightly made a sketch, and I clearly eyeballed my drawing, but it's very different from my drawing. It's just kind of got the same vibe. No two things I do look alike. And I'm going in with a kneaded eraser and just tapping away where I got a little heavy-handed with the pencil, because the goal here is for the pencil to not show. Now, I'm a southpaw, so I start over here and go this way. And I'm going to get started with my favorite flower, a Jenny daisy. And it starts out with a really light cone. And I think I'm going to get a little fancier with this one and do a little bit more, tap in some bleeds. Since this is something I want to frame, I want to have a little bit more drama going on. Now, my favorite part, making these petals in a couple of different shades of the rose color, or I'm sorry, the orange color. And this is the one that's going to test my patience, because I'm going to have to let these dry. Let's tap a little bit more into this. Boy, it's so hot today. Things are drying really, really fast, in spite of the humidity. Now you can see, as much as I love bleeds, I'm not letting this bleed up into the cone, the center of the flower, because I'm after kind of a different look here. So now I've got to leave that alone and move up to this guy. And I'm painting wet on dry. Oopsie. Now I'd like this one to be a little bit more rosy orange, so I'm going to tap a little bit more, make some explosions of opera rose here. Ooh, that's yummy. I'm not even adding water to this. I've got a lot of water in my well. Okay, gotta let those babies dry. Let's move on to the cool colors. This, I'm gonna add some water. Another wet on wet. And it's okay if a little bit of the pencil line shows through. It just adds to the piece. I'm grabbing water for this one because I don't have as liquid in my palette as I did on the last batch, the pinks. It's okay to turn your paper too. I won't, because I'll make you dizzy if I do that. But normally I do. I don't like scrunching up my hand like this. Add a little drama here. So once again, gotta let that dry. Move along. We need some neutral in here, so I'm gonna do my black daisy, my gray daisy down here. And these can go really fast. It's better the faster you go, because you get more of the watercolor magic happens. Like that, for example, that was not planned, but that's okay. Let's let it happen. Let's add some of that to these other petals. That's kind of a nice little aqua tint there. And you can tell I just sort of have my pieces of reference just laying around. Oh, it looks like I've got a little bleed in the center of that one, so I'm going to let that happen. A little darker. Ooh. It doesn't have to exactly match my reference. I'm pretty open. Need a little gold, so I think I'm going to balance, bring some gray over here, so I'm going to balance and make a gray leaf. Like we said, it doesn't have to occur in nature. There's its stem. C-curve. It's an interesting leaf. Make it a little bit darker. Let that rest. No, I think I want it a little bit darker. I rarely use black. I usually just mix colors to indicate black, but this time I'm using it. This leaf keeps getting longer and longer. All right, so then we need some kind of aqua blue gray up here. And this is going to be wet on wet, which is kind of my favorite. It goes with my personality the best, which, as I've mentioned, is a not real patient personality. Looks like I got a little eraser dust in here. That's okay. And you notice I painted over this petal. That's okay. This will be dry by the time I do this petal and it won't matter. Got another one up here. Maybe it's going to be a little bit lighter. All right, let's add some interest. So if we had a light source, I guess it would be coming this way. The joy of fantasy flowers is you don't have to care about a light source. All right, now what can I go back and do? Are we dry here? Are we dry? We might be dry. Let's get a nice orangey. Oh crap, that's too much red. Oh yeah, here we go. It needs to be darker. Oh yeah. Oh good, those transparencies are working. I was afraid I didn't let it dry long enough. Gosh, I can't believe how fast things are drying. It's like I need a little bit more water. I can't do that one yet, so I'm gonna go up higher. Let's see if this guy's dry. Kind of unbelievable, but it's dry enough. And if you don't get the transparency you want, you can cheat later. I'll show you how to do that. But I'm pretty happy with this. So now I think I'm going to add a little bit of drama to this one. Wow, it's drying fast. Maybe this one, because things tend to dry lighter. Pretty. Oh crap, I just wrecked that. Let's fix it. No problem. Okay, is this dry? I think I'm going to do the center first because it's not quite dry. I need to go with a much darker aqua for the center. Too wet. Pretty. Let me grab some Prussian blue to... Oh, love it, love it, love it. Ooh, then I'll just add a little Prussian blue to these. So we're shifting our palette slightly. Ooh, that one's dry. Ooh, that's fun. Now I'm stuck. I need to wait for things to dry. So I will be right back. And I'm back. This might be scary, but let's go for it. Ooh. I hope I get the transparency I'm wanting. Oh, and I am. I got a little bit of the blue in there, but that's okay. Don't mind it. Now for the aqua, let's go a little darker and add a little bit of Prussian blue. And I sometimes test my color on another piece of paper. Nice. That's going to be pretty. And I like a little bit of that Prussian blue bleed. Now I'm going, I don't have enough black in my palette. Let's add a little. There we go. For the base of this flower, like I said, these flowers are not found in nature. We got to bleed. Unintentional, but it's kind of cool. I need a little bit of drama here. I think I'm just going to leave this stem skinny. And then when you're making a line, you kind of want to move your whole arm, not just flip your wrist. Then this particular flower, yeah, I do want to have a little bit of black drama here. And I'm looking around, where's my reference? I'm gonna give, why can't this flower have a gold stem? No reason, it can totally have a gold stem. Absolutely. Let's add some cool bleeds in here. A little raw umber. Then it looks like I have kind of a flower within a flower on these guys. I almost hate to do that because the bleeds are so pretty, but it'll match. And so what? We got a little extra bleed. Now, what I'm going to do is make a few more petals. I think I need a little gray up here. Leaves, I mean. press and lift, press and lift. And now, I'm just going to let that happen. The next thing I need to do is let things dry and then add some texture, which I'm going to do really quickly, and I'll be right back. Okay, I think I'm ready to stop. I went crazy with the bleed proof white, as you can see. I waited till everything was dry and did some more accents. And I kind of liked the stems, so I thought that I would just make this a glass vase. So just a little tiny bit of bleed and then some Prussian blue accents. So I like it. I think it hangs really nicely with this group, and it's a little bit more artsy fartsy with all the crazy bleeds that are going on. So voila. Now, go make yourself a fantasy floral.